Welcome back to News Channel 6. I want to talk to you about something very special that News Channel 6 is being a part of right now. I'm joined now by Kris Rotonda. He is the founder of Jordan's Way. Kris, I want to thank you so much for being here with us this afternoon. I want to talk to you a little bit about the overall mission of Jordan's Way. For those who don't know what it is, talk about the mission.
So Jordan's Way travels to 50 states a year, 300 shelters. We pretty much bring exposure to animal shelters while fundraising at the same time. This is something I started after my dog Jordan passed away of cancer back in 2019. She was in a shelter for 4 years. And right after she passed away, I went on like a mission of passion just around the country, highlighting the amazing work these shelter workers do and of course all the animals they take care of.
And so you were a realtor turned bodybuilder turned animal advocate. How did your past experiences, from flipping tires to, everything inspire the high energy, fun first approach that you have for your live fundraisers?
Well, the high energy and the creativity comes from my two daughters. I also like the creativity, the fun, the excitement. I'm an 8-year-old, 37-year-old, I would say. So for me, like when it comes to the fundraisers, I always say it's a Jerry Lewis telethon mixed with a Nickelodeon episode. I'm always doing fun, loving stuff with my kids. And when I get on the road, I kind of just bring the kid kind of comes out of me. So the creativity has been kind of maturing over the years of doing this when it comes to pie faces, tortilla slaps, ice bucket challenges. It's all been inspired by, like I said, my daughters, YouTube, and just being a kid myself.
And so your tour has raised millions of dollars and influenced thousands, tens of thousands adoptions across America. I believe the number was around 80,000, probably more. So which story from the road stands out as the one that defined Jordan's Way for you? If there is one, I'm sure there's too many to count.
I think on the adoption side, I had a dog that was actually in New Jersey that was in the shelter for 10 years. And during one of our games that we play to raise money, where I had people locked up in the kennel, the dog that's been there for 10 years was adopted the day after I left, which is probably the greatest story I've ever heard. On a fundraising side, probably in Iowa, I had the mayor declare it Jordan's Way Day every time that I go out there. And one of the shelters went over $100,000 raised in 3 hours.
That is awesome. So, you target underfunded, overpopulated shelters, places that might not get attention otherwise. So I want to talk about what criteria you use to maybe select your stops and how do you make sure that each visit has that lasting impact that you're really, really trying to get?
So when I first started Jordan's Way, I was reaching out to all the shelters. God, I had to convince myself of me, kind of saying like, I can do this. I can do a 3-hour live feed. Now the criteria is different. Everybody, when I say I'm going to Jersey, New York, Texas, wherever, we get nominations that just kind of flood in on our website. So the criteria, I usually like to have shelters that are in rural areas. You're not going to really see me in like the New York Cities, Los Angeles of the world. I pick on the rural shelters. We always ask that we have at least 20 or 30 volunteers, and I love to know the stories of the dogs before we get there. Whether they have dogs that have been there years. Senior dogs that touch my heart too as well. So there's a lot of criteria, but I base it on nominations. Then of course, hearing the stories usually kind of melt the heart too.
And so talk to us about the Jordan's Way Bowl coming to Wichita Falls. I want to talk about how bringing all these rescues together can help elevate that mission, especially in an area like this.
Absolutely. When I first started Jordan's Way, it was very hard to get big time sponsors because they always told me, a lot of the places told me, a lot of the shelters and rescues won't work well together. So if you try to do any kind of collaborated events, it'd be tough. So the Jordan's Way Bowl is actually like kind of defends my kind of position on that. We have over 100 shelters coming to this fundraiser, and it's going to be, everyone's it's going to be split evenly, the pot of the fundraiser. So yeah, it's going to be 100 shelters benefiting every one of them. There's going to be 4 hours nonstop. We have, like I said, the news that's going to be shutting down for those 4 hours. You guys are going to be there, which is awesome. But yeah, it's one big fundraiser, and it's gonna hopefully raise millions of dollars in one shot instead of I've raised 12.5 million since I started this in 5 years. So hopefully we can hit a big number like that just in one night.
That is absolutely incredible. I know I'm looking forward to it. And one more question I want to ask you is, you push the message, adopt, don't shop. I want to talk about what you think breaks people's misconceptions about the shelter animals, how Jordan's Way addresses that.
So I know there's like a bad, just a bad connotation when it comes to animal shelters. It's like a dark place when people hear about it, say it. I'm guilty of that too. When I was growing up, I didn't know that there was a shelter in my town. So it's not a place that people like to visit. So when it comes to our events, how we kind of break that mold is like our events are very high energy. They're fun. With 30 or 40 people there, we lock teams up in kennels. They have to raise a certain amount of money, or one team pies the other team in the face. We do shine a bright light in everything that the kennel techs do, from the shelter managers to the kennel techs. But yeah, we shine a bright light when it comes to the live feed, the antics, and I think when people the stuff I hear after the fundraiser. I didn't even know my shelter was here. You know, this was much better than I expected. I want to help out more. We have people that foster, they adopt, they volunteer more after our event just because they never actually step foot in their shelter. And once you get in there, it's a different place. The people that run it are great places, are great people. They're doing selfless work. And, you know, we inspire a lot of the community to come out and meet those people.
And so lastly, I just want to talk about the long-term vision for Jordan's Way. So what's next after the bowl? More tours, national partnerships, policy advocacy?
Absolutely. We are looking forward to doing more tours in bigger, even in bigger arenas, which we love to try to do. We want to try to get into like a football stadium. I love the idea of the Jerry Lewis telethon effect where we can, even though it's animal shelters versus cancer research, like with the animal shelters, I can bring in hundreds of shelters and raise millions of dollars, especially if we have, you know, we upgrade to like even like a, you know, a big time TV, you know, network like Netflix or something that wants to kind of live stream this. That would be interesting too. But I want to take the Joins Way Bowl to much bigger levels after this. But I'm also going to always keep touring around the country though.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you so much for everything you're doing, not only as an animal lover, but just as a member of the community. You know, people don't recognize things like this unless people like you come out and put their heart and soul into it. So I want to thank you for being here with us this afternoon. We are looking forward to the Jordan's Way Bowl. We'll have much more on this on our website. That is newschannel6now.com. We'll be right back after the break.